Okay, so is everything set? We're good to go. Okay. Hi, good morning, all. I'm sorry, this is my first time. I'm just doing a live streaming. So if you feel me like I'm stammering here and there, or some of my reactions are a little bit nerd, please bear with me. Okay. All right. First of all, going to the topic, I just want to thank Shankaranand and Damien and Mr. AIT Pros, their AIT Pros, for arranging these events and also giving me this first time opportunity. All right, people, let's get into the topic. Now, as you all know from the title itself, what I'm trying to achieve from these things, how to achieve quality API testings with 4 simple steps. Now, before going to the topic, let me just give a few things about who am I and what am I doing. As you know, my name is SelvaKumar, and I have 7+ years experience in purely in automation, QA test automations. And what do I do for, you know about that, I'm a QA, and for the past 3+ years, what I'm doing is I'm doing the API testing. Purely, I'm into API testing for the past 3+ years. So I think I have a good experience on to comment on these things. Okay. So what I'm going to share with you is purely from my experience, from the blogs that I learned, from my lead guidance. So what are the things that I learned so far? So what we're going to arrive, what I'm trying to give you from this topic is how you, though you be a startup or you be a developed company, how you can achieve good quality API testing, how you can maximize your effectiveness of your API performance, and also like maximize or reducing the bugs in your API by fully concentrating on these 4 simple steps. All right. Okay. So now let's get into it. Now, we all know the time period which we are living in is purely on data. So data is the modern fuel. So in order to arrive this data, and you know APIs are the one who are just though we use DB to store the data, but APIs are the one who are handling, like who are serving the intermediator to help the client, both the client end and also the service. So everything, the API is the intermediator. In order to handle this data in a good quality manner, we need to have a good quality API testing. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. As you can see in my screen, so far in 2002, the USA has started like calculating how many, how many dollars has been lost because of the bugs. They have estimated like nearly 60 billion dollars, but in 2016, just it has crossed to 1.1 trillion. Where this has been all started. This has been started, though the system is an the UI flow, everything is an entire like an overflow only, but the back end of it is what the API is holding up it is back. So this is what we are going to look into, how to maximally how to achieve the good quality API testings. I'm sorry, this is as I said, this is my first time, so I'm standing here a little. Okay, so let me get to the point straightly. Now, these 4 steps I have come up with by considering the following factors. Factor number 1 is it should be simple. It should be not like a rocket science where not everybody could implement it. These 4 steps are simple, and these 4 steps is you can adapt if you're both a startup or you've developed. You can simply adapt to these 4 steps. And also, this 4 steps is not only will help you to initiate initiate a API testing process or an automation process. These 4 steps will also help you to evolve. Okay, as we are know, we are in a time where the technology has been boosting like anything. So we have to cope up with it. We have to grow with it. So this is what this 4 steps are all about. It will also help you to evolve with the growing evolution of the API and also the testing era. All right. Now the first point is clean flow and clarity test cases. Okay. The first steps to have a good quality API testing is a clean flow and a clarity test case. The second is more component testing. Now, before speaking about this, I'll just give you one thing. Like, I'm not saying end-to-end testing is bad. I'm just saying more of component testings. Okay, I just want to make that point very clearly. And the second is the tools and strategist. So, sorry, the third thing is the tools and strategist. All right, and the fourth thing is continuous testing. All right. So we're going to look in. So these are the 4 steps, and as we go by, we're going to see these steps in a very detailed manner. Okay, let's go. Now, sorry. Now, as you can see, the first point is clean flow and clarity test cases. Now, you might have think, okay, and I forgot this point also. The 4 steps which I'm going to share, the techniques which I'm going to show are not going to be new to you. Okay, you guys have already known that, but the problem comes is on the implementation part or giving a more concern on this part. Okay, so you might have known this points, but you might have not given more importance towards that thing. So that is what I'm trying to be. The points that I'm going to show are not going to be a new thing or any magical pills. All I'm going to give is you might have already known that or you might have already implemented, but to give a more concern towards these 4 steps will give you a high clarity. Okay, so the first point is clean flow and clarity test cases. Now, what is meant by a clean flow and clarity test case? For clarity test case, you all know, but what I'm trying to say about a clean flow. Clean flow is what I try to say about is understand the flow of the API. Okay, so this is like, or indirectly I'm saying understand the requirement of the API. All right, so to have a clarity flow, these are the 2 points you have to make considered. Understanding a requirement, make test case with clarity. Now, if you do these 2 things very perfectly, you can just have the first step very set up. Okay, just a second. All right. Now, what does mean by understanding the requirements? Okay, so you might have say, okay, hey, I have my documentations ready, I have my things ready, everything is ready. So what to do with the requirements? So I already have my documents, I have prepared everything into it. But there are still, look, from the business perspectives, and document understandings will be very clear from them. Okay, a BA may give it to you, hey, these are the things are the business understanding. But from the testers perspective, understanding document is not only like making a proper sense. It should have considered these 3 points which I just listed here. The number 1 is the completeness. The number 2 is clearness and correctness, and the number 3 is consistency. So what are these 3 things? Completeness. Completeness should it should understand like what that flow is going to do, where it's going to initiate and where it's going to end. In between, what and all things it's going to, as you can see in the slide itself, I have detailed the portrayed it like the structure, the functions, the data, and the platforms and the operations. Like what that API is going to do, and how it's going to do, and to whom it's going to do, and from whom it's going to fetch and whom it's going to do. So these are the questions. If your document answered these questions perfectly, or from the documents, if you could able to give the proper answers for this so and so questions for each and every requirement. I'm speaking about each and every requirement, not just an entire document. For each and every requirement, if you could able to able to give this proper informations, you can say, okay, it is complete. It is having a complete, because the cycle is it has been started and it has ended properly. So these are the factors. And number 2 is clearance and correctness. Now, clearness and correctness is basically, it's simple as it is. The requirements has to be clear. Even when a layperson or a person like a manager who is a non-technical person comes and reads, means he has to understand that statement has to make a sense. It should not like simple say, okay, do a login. Okay, how am I going to do a login? Am I going to ask email first? Like you know, in Google they will ask email, and in another page they will ask password. So just like that, is this API how it's going to handle? For example, in one of my programs that I'm working currently now. It's a US based project that I'm currently working, and in that what we will do is we will not simply log into an API from the testers. We will not simply log into an API, or we will not allow users to log in. We will have some access code data random type where the people who are having that access code only can able to log into certain systems. Okay, it's not like it's a login page where everyone come and interact with. No, these logins will be accessible only to limited number of peoples. So people who are having that kind of login, that kind of an access code can only be able to log in. All right. So that is what the clearness has to be a high perspective in this manner. It has to have a clearness and correctness. And another thing is consistency. Now imagine a requirement, something which says like this, like a user has to click this page, and he has to click this button, and he has to do a login. Wherein another thing, it has to say when a user clicks this link, he has to directly go and log into the page. Now this may look from the business perspective, this may make sense. Okay, when I click on a link from the email, it should directly log in, and it should. But from the tester's perspective, you need to have this consistency. If it says it has to log in, you need to ask this questions. Okay, if I'm going to click this thing, how the login is going to be done in the back end. Okay, if a user can only go into a portal through a login, but in another requirement it is saying I'm just clicking this link, I can access that portal, means as a tester we have to ask the questions how it's going to do the login in the back end. Okay, so it should have the consistency of it. It should not deviate from any of its previous requirements. So that is the main point which we need to have a make thing. All right. So this is what it means, understanding the requirement. If these three things are being checked, you're good to go with the understanding requirement. Now, the next thing which you have to have a thing is make a test case with clarity. All right. Now, you might have says like as you know, you guys know from the both the dev end and also from the QA end, you guys know the importance of a test case. Now, what does mean by a test case with clarity? All right, you can just simply take an Excel and you can do do's and do's and everything, you can do it. Okay, this will be used for a short project, like a short-term project. This can be useful, but trust me, if you follow these rules, in the initial point of time, you will face some time delay or something like that. But as time goes by, you will see a very effectiveness in if you started to make this. So how to make a test case with clarity? Now, some of the principles to keep in mind. Okay. So how to make the test case clarity is, I'm not going to say like, okay, you have to include this tab, you have to include this column, you have to include, now these and all already will be covered and also in the internet you can find a hell a lot of informations. All right. So I'm not going to inform, but I'm going to give you some three basic principles where if you follow this, your test case will not only be in clarity manner, you can also adjustize or you can just monetize this test case for your future project also, so that your future starting from the scratch test case scenarios will be wiped out. Okay, so what are the three things are this? The reusable and adaptiveness. Okay, and second thing is it should be understood to every team members. Okay, every members. I'm also speaking about non-technical people. Okay, people who don't have understanding about the documents, when they see your test cases, they should feel like it. Okay, it is a manual sort of something like that. Okay, and the third thing is very important. It should be the adaptiveness. Okay, your test case should be very clear that when a user or when a layman reads the test case, he should have the clear understanding how the flow is going to make, so that in future, for example, just consider you are writing a test case for a login page. So in the login page, you should say, I need to load this URL, and I need to give my email, and I need to give my password, and I need to click login. So now this test case, you can I can just fetch it out, and I can use it for an upcoming project also. If my upcoming project also has a login page, I can directly copy and paste this. Now this is just a simple example, but when coming to the complexity of the project, it's going to be very helpful. Now you might have said, is not test case preparation consumes time? What if my client asks me, hey, give me with a short period of time? Now, don't worry, we'll be there. We'll be covering that on the next point, okay? But remember this one point, test case with clarity, it should be essential. I'll just show you a small sample, okay? Now, this is an example of a bad test case. All right. Now, how are you saying this is an example for a bad test case? As you can see, it has steps where it's just simply saying home and login. So from the home page, I can log in. Now, this may looks from your thing, this may look very easy, but from the testing manner, when the system goes a little bit, when the system goes complex as it goes by, this will not work for you. This will create a lot of confusions. The thing is, we even don't know about it. Okay, this is the reason where I'm just struggling there. This is the reason where I'm just struggling. You can't directly pinpoint to a place where you can have a thing. And also this thing that doesn't have a pre-setups and also the post setups. Now I'm going to show you a sample of a good test case. Now, as you can see, this is one of the sample of how to have a good test case. Like, you need to have the objects, you need to have the steps, you need to have the test data and everything. And also it should be written in a clean manner where, as I said, in before thing, a layman could not understand that. But after that, everybody, even a BA from another team, when he comes and read, he can directly understand what is going on here. All right? Okay. Now this is the first step where you have to do in your thing. So once again I'm saying the first step is to have, or you can simply say like, understand the flow, have a clarity test case. So if you just completed these things, you're good to go with the second point. The second steps is more on component testings. Now I'm not, and again I'm just saying, I'm not saying end-to-end testing is fully bad. Okay, I'm just saying you need to be more focused on the component testings. Now, as I said before, I'm sorry. The thing is, from the first steps, a good clarity test case will be always more on component oriented. If your test case is very good, if you just look into it, the layer of it, the inner and the outer layer of it will be having the component testing as its basic principle. All right. Now, you might be saying, how to do this. So what are you trying to say? Because we all know what is meant by the component testings, or we can say this module testings. Now, before to that, I'll just say, okay, end-to-end testing is not bad. Okay, end-to-end testing is good only, it should, but your focus should be more on component testing. Now, why I'm saying this, I'll just say to you. Now, end-to-end testing, it will be helpful to find the customer related impacting bugs, or the management. Just a second, okay? Just 1 second. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Now, end-to-end testings will help the team to identify the customer impacting bugs, the bugs that will reject or renovate or rejuvenate on during the customer's interactions, that we can find on the end-to-end testings. And also in the end-to-end testings will also help the management side team and also the business investor side team, okay, whether we can release this build or not. So these are these sort of questions can be easily understood when we are doing end-to-end testing. So okay, then what is wrong with that? Where we are doing wrong with that? Now, these are the things that will be missed out in the end-to-end testing. What is it? For example, after doing every codings and after doing every testings, if I just found a bug on the end-to-end testings, means just consider pointing out that bug. It will become a real hard task because layers of codes has been already been developed upon that. All right, this is not simply like, okay, hey, there is a bug, you can just fix it. But from the dev point of view, they might have implemented a huge library upon it. So in order to fix that code, they need to change some of the libraries. In order to fix it, may be a small thing, it may be a small data set structure. For example, one of my experience I have is we have a system where it will give the rupees in a decimal point of 4 digit, and as a result of that, we find some bugs in it. So we are planning to do it as a two decimal points, and you know what? It took like a week. Now you might say, what's wrong? What's going to be wrong with that? Because the changing of 4 point to the 2 points, it need to go a lot of process. A lot of libraries has been involved. A lot of third parties has been involved in it. So we need to go and we need to monetize everything. We need to rectify all those things. It really took some really a week to fix that. the development and the testing part. But if we found this in the components testing itself, if we found this, the initiation part itself, it will be easy for the developer to fix it. Okay, now we will also see that. Okay, so the first point is a lot of codes will be developed on it, so it will be tough for the developers to dig into it and find it the root cause. And the another thing that is wrong with the end-to-end testing is finding the root cause is hard, as I said before, because a lot of codes are upon it. And the another thing is hidden bugs will be missed out very easily. This is what we can call it as the flaky test bugs, or we can say the flaky bugs. Now, what are these flaky bugs? Okay, we all know Google is a giant in the tech industries, but do you know Google suffers from flaky test? They even have a separate team to just to handle that. I will link the reference at the end of the slides. You can just go to there, and they say they are just breaking their heads for just for the flaky test. Okay, so what does this flaky test mean? So flaky test is nothing but I'm just running my automation code and it get passed. So I'm just very happy about, hey, yes, the build is good, the test is passed. Now when you're just deploying it to the environment, the build is failed. What has happened? Now when I'm just running my code, before the code was my automation is getting all thing green, but now when I'm just deploying it, certain steps are getting red. It's failing. So why the reason? And again, when you're just running, it's getting green now. So these are the flaky tests. Flaky tests will give you a passing and a failing result with the same code. If you just run once, it will get passed, and twice it will get failed. So these are the tests which is called flaky tests. Now flaky tests cannot be found in the end-to-end testing. That is the main reason why we're going for the component testing. All right. Now this is the direct statement from the Google. All right, so they're saying, okay, now how to handle this flaky test, right? So how can I find this flaky test, the bugs in this thing is, this is what Google is following, all right? So I have given this source there. This is what Google is following. Google, what they will do is they will sometimes run the code 3 times, all right, three consecutive times. I don't know what process they're following. Sometimes it runs for 3 consecutive times, and they will see the variations of the bugs. Okay. Now, if this test case is how it is resolving itself. So if it is if it is unstable in this 3 sets of run, it's a flaky bug. Okay. So as I said, as you can see from it, unfortunately across our entire crops test, we see a continual rate of 1.5% of all tests run reporting as flaky results. Can you just imagine, out of their the rate is continually increasing, like 1.5% of all their tests run reporting. Can you just imagine how many test cases are there? So as you can see this, if you go and read this blog, they will end in the end they will say like they've even moduled a new team just to handle and identify this new things. All right. Now. Before going to this, the thing is end-to-end again. End-to-end testing is more to be less of. We should focus less on end-to-end testing. It should be like less. So how it is? Okay. Before going to that, I'll just. We all know this. What is the benefit of component testing? So okay, I've already specified previously. Let me just give you a couple of hits and bits over there. Okay, just 3 things. All right. Component testing is fast, as you can see. Whenever I find a module, and if it is in a very small particular in an API, when I'm just targeting this module, it will be just going it very easily. All right. So it's fast. And also it's reliable. Okay. Now just imagine after a developer has done his an entire week into development and is giving us a build. Now I'm just running my automation script. And now in my scenario, there are certain builds where I need to run really like 7,000 test cases. It will almost take me like 2 hours to complete that for my full automation QA automation test. So in order to do, so just imagine 2 hours just I have to spend my time, and after that I need to find, okay, what happened. Now for example, if I find suspicious, okay, maybe any flaky bugs over there, I need to rerun it again, and another and 4 hours has been gone, and I need to run it again, and 6 hours is gone. It's like end of the day. All right. So it's it's not fast, it's very time consuming. So that's why, but when you come to the component testing is something where it will not take like hours for me, it will take like a minutes for me. So when I just run and I saw, oh yeah, this is like fluctuation over there, so I will just rerun it again, and I will rerun it again. So then I can form out, okay, there is something unstable thing is going on, or this look like some buggy. So I can definitely I can uh, immediately I can mail or I can inform to the developer, and they can take the right actions for it. So that's why this is very reliable, right? And another thing, test data isolation is easy. All right. Um, now this may not look, the test data isolations, it may not look a big part on some small projects like 2 or 3 days projects, but when the project goes into complexity, if the complexity increases, data isolation is a must, right? You need to have a proper data because there are certain times where it's not the flow, it is the data that you're giving its point. For example, a space between a character and a space between certain types of characters will produce a bugs, right? And unexpected bugs. Or if I just inject anything into a DB and I'm just pulling the data into it, we need to inform to the development team what data is causing this problem, right? We can't just simply say, hey, when I follow this row, these are the things that we're following. They will be asking for your data, the test data. Okay, so isolating the test data is very useful. If you have a component testing and you have a separate test data for each and every component testing, means you will have a clear picture and a clear flow and a clear data for it. All right. Okay. Now. Okay, so I'm saying, okay, now you said like end-to-end testing, it should be less, and component testing it should be more. So what are the percentages of things? So let's ask Google about it, right? So this is the rule where the Google team has been following. They're following this 70-20-10 rules, all right? Where the 70% will be on unit testings, and the 20% will be on integration testing, and 10% will be on E2E testing. Now, unit testing, I'm not meaning the dev only has to do their part, all right? Dev, now unit testing is a must, and I don't know, maybe you guys might have following that correctly, but I have faced an experience where there are certain development team where they don't do the unit testing very properly, right? The unit testing and the module testing has to be done, and the integration testing has to be done, and E2 testing has to be done, which is the end-to-end testing. All right. So follow this 70-20 rules, and he will be having more of a component rule. So as you can see, the first point is have a clear flow and a clarity test case. The second point is more of a component testing, more on component testing. So, all right. Now here comes the third steps. Now the third steps is tools and strategy. All right. Now I'll try to brief it as soon as possible here. All right. Okay. Now you might have faced this situations where the dev team might, the entire team might come up with some strategies. Okay, let us follow agile. Let us follow, of course, water model. No one is going to follow in these days. If so, let us follow V model. Let us follow agile model. So the models, the strategies has been done, and after that the tools has been done. But as time goes by, you will feel a really hard time on getting over to that. Getting over the testings in a neat manner, you will find it very hard to do it. But don't worry, this the tools now the tools that I've shown in the screen are just a little bit samples only, right? There are a lot of tools, but these tools are really helping me, and I'm using these tools only. Okay, as I said before, and another thing I wanted to tell about me is, for the past 3+ years, I'm handling a project where it has 13 APIs, and then and each and every APIs I need to maintain 7,000 test cases, right? So if I just wanted to run an API testing, it would like 1 day. All right, my one day is gone just to run a 2 or 3 API testings. All right, so how I managed all those 7,000 test cases per single API. All right, I'm managing 13 APIs for each single API. I'm like 7,000 test cases. So how am I managing for using these tools that I'm just saying to it, right? So how these tools have been helped me, how these tools have it will be helpful for you, that we can that I'll be showing you in the factor. But before to that, um, I'll just slightly tell you about certain things of it. Like there are good strategies out there. There are a lot of good strategies out there. But as the slides goes by, I'm going to share you the strategies and the tools that helped me to achieve a good quality API. All right. Now, what are the tools? Just as you can see, these are the tools. So you might say like the the I'm sorry, I'm stammering a little bit. All right. Uh, I'm following the BDD model. All right. The tools that I'm following are mostly on JBehavior, a little bit of Cucumber, and a little bit of JMeter. But you might say, okay, okay, where I should start? What tool I should pick up? You need to say, okay, that depends upon your API. All right. So how to categorize these things? Let me help you with that. All right. Now, first, if your API has more methods and more data, right? My API has a huge number of data. My API has huge number of methods, sub methods into it. Then you need to go for the BDD framework. Now here, choose BD. I said choose Java. I'm just I should name it as suggestions. Okay, I'm just suggesting go with a BDD framework. Okay, with the Java background. If you not know, I'm not comfortable with Java. I'm just comfortable with Python or Ruby. You can just go with that. Okay, but this is my strong recommendations to go with BDD framework. Okay, the language you can choose whatever it may be. So if your API has more methods and more data, go with the BDD. Right? But you might be saying, no, but my method, okay, my method has, I mean, sorry, my API has less method but more data. Okay, there are certain APIs where it has only one method or two sub methods, but it will the data it is handling is way out of number, right? So if you come that part means you can just follow this JMeter, all right? You don't have to go to BDD and set up a framework, so because it's just two simple methods, okay? Just data part is going to be taken care of. So for that you can go for the JMeter. But now my method has more methods, but a little bit of the data means just go with the normal page object model. Now, excuse me. Now, I'm not saying, okay, for page object model, for in what? It can be a TestNG, it can be a JUnit, or you can be like whatever you feel, you can be at specs. So you can go whatever it is, whatever tools or whatever things. But the basic thing is you can simply go for a page object model. You don't have to set up a framework for it, right? And another thing, if it is it has less method and less data means you can just simply go with simple steps of automations. All right, you don't have to go and play some methodology, or you have to know. Just simply go and record and just manipulate with the data handling and the method handling. All right, but I strongly recommend go with the BDD. Okay, now okay, I'm just totally blank. I still don't know about my API. I still don't know, but I'm feeling it may in future it may go increases. I will definitely go for with the BDD. Now, why I'm just saying this BDD, because it has helped me a lot, right? The following things it has helped me. It has helped me to maintain my data management. So how am I going to do it? And also the story files featured file will help me act as a test case document, and also it will be easily understood by all of team. Now, do you remember on the first when I'm saying about the first step? Like you need to have a clarity test cases. For that you need to have this ID, this ID, this ID, and you need to prepare a document for it. Now you guys might be thinking it will consume time, right, to create a niche a clean test cases. It will really consume time. But when you form this framework, what it will do is the story file and the feature file itself will take care of the documentation part. Okay, so what you're going to do is when the development team, they are just doing their work on creating the they're creating the APIs. In the next slide, what you can do is you can just set up this framework and you can start typing the codes. And BDD is it has a reusable methodology, and of course most of you guys know what that means. So when you form those framework, it will what you can do is you can side by side, you can not only manage your document, you can also manage your data, okay, the test data which you're giving, right? And also it will help you, it will lead it will help you to not only have a clarity of it, it will help you to reuse the steps which you used in it. So you don't have to go and write a bunch of codes for each and every steps, right? For each and every test cases. It will be like it will be very helpful, and also it is very understandable. Your user, or I'm sorry, not your user, your BA or any non-technical persons, they will have a clear understanding of it. Okay, just by reading this, they can just go with it. Now, again, I'm just revising. The first point is have a clear flow understanding and a clarity test case. And the second point is more on component testing. And the third point, tools and strategies. The fourth point, which I'm just, is continuous testing. Okay. Now, we are living in a time or IT, or I can say a competitive IT world, where each and every step, each and every time when you're launching a test case, it counts. All right. So whenever a build has been triggered, you should ready with a setup where it will automatically trigger the test case. Like whenever the build has been deployed, you should automatically trigger the test case. You should not ask your developer, hey, do a test case. Whenever you trigger it, it should automatically run with it. So this is what we call a continuous testing. So right. So each and every steps when there is a new build has been deployed, when there is new requirement has been added to it, or whenever the QA feels something, you need to have a system where just, or it's not only your QA, even a project manager, when he thinks, okay, you just have to go into online and you have to click and you need to trigger the test executions. Now for this there are a lot of tools, but one tool that I will strongly recommend is Junkin. Okay, so where it will help you. It's free, and it's so you can just, and also it's easy to set things right. So what it does is continuous testing will help you not only test the futures, but also it will help you to test the already present features that are in the API. So now, let me be more clear on it. For example, I'm just doing a code. I'm just doing a login page. Now I have my test cases ready. So now what I'm doing is on the login page, I'm just adding some of the some other functionality. Now I'm just now the dev has triggered the build. Now now when the build has been coming to the QA. Now the QA they're just deploying the build in their QA environment, and when they deploy, they don't have to go and run the test manually, but that should automatically trigger. All right. Now this may look like so what is the wrong between doing manual and automations? So and again, as I said before, complexity matters. All right. As the process go complex, it will create some stressful situations where there may be, I'm not saying there will be, there may be, leading to an testing be neglected. All right. So fourth point is simple, that it can be overthink. So now let us have a once again have a clear of it. So the first step is clear flow and clarity test case. The second flow is more component testing, and the third is tools and strategies, and the fourth steps is continuous testing. All right. And these are the reference lists that I would like to give. Now, the people who are in the webinar, I would like to give you a fifth step. All right, this is like a bonus steps, and also as usual, this fifth steps is also known to you. The thing is, the fifth step: never stop learning. All right, never stop learning about the current technologies. Never stop learning about the current methodologies. Right. Now, let me give you a small example. The thing is, if you have an API and you set everything perfectly and you started to run, nowadays if you go with the Java or if you go with anything, we use Maven. We all know about Maven, right? Maven is where it helps to set up the test project in a niche manner, and we used to deploy everything. Now, if you ask me personally, can I go with Maven now? I won't say no. Go with, there is another tool called Gradle. I'm sorry, I forgot to. I just thought of placing that in this PPT, but I forgot. But you can just go and type it. It's Gradle. Maybe after this thing, Shankar or Damon, they will be writing it in the comment. All right. Sorry, in the description. I'm stammering a lot, right? Just please bear with me. Okay, the thing is, don't go with Maven, go with Gradle, because Maven has its own set of time period where it just rules the project setups. It helps you to build, or it helps you to import the dependency jar files, everything. But Gradle, it makes job very clear. It makes job very lighter. All right, so this happens as you go on. So we need to be updated on the current trend. So when you so never stop learning is my fifth steps, where whatever your team may be, just have the learning habit. Ask your teammates to take seminars, ask your teammates to do lot of things that will helpful for the company. All right, so these are the URLs that I've just said. So, okay. So I hope I have not wasted much of your time. I hope you will be having a good time, and I hope this thing will be very valuable for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the, even in the Sundays, you guys have spent your time on hearing this. Thank you so much, and I hope this will be very valuable for you. God bless. Bye. One second.
Thank you, Selva. That was really a very cool presentation, and this is our first webinar. So I would like to, extend my gratitude and thanks to Selva for his time and the wonderful presentation, the efforts that he has put to, to make this webinar, I would say more like a, uh, come to live, and it's time during this Sunday. So we are expecting, contributions from all of you in terms of sharing your knowledge or spending time volunteering for Aitpro, and we are also planning and hoping soon for many more live webinars. So thank you very much, Selva. Thank you for your times once again, and for everyone who is watching this, and please do share your feedback, what you like most about the presentation, what you like most about this process, and what can be improved, so that makes us running forward. So yeah, thank you very much, and have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.